What's up, Taiwan? I'm Reece with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Police have questioned the chiefs of more than 40 Taipei neighborhoods over recent trips to China. Officers wanted to know if they'd accepted cheap travel paid for by Beijing in exchange for voting a particular way in January's elections. 3 chiefs have been released on bail while the investigation continues. Taiwan has recently been scrutinizing the travel expenses of local officials for signs that China is trying to influence the upcoming vote. Taiwan's leading presidential candidate is accusing China of interfering in the country's elections. Louise Watt reports.
A month before Taiwan elects a new president and legislature, a trade dispute with China. Beijing, which claims Taiwan as its own, now says Taipei has put up trade barriers against more than 2,000 Chinese products. It has not said how it will respond. But the threat of sanctions by Taiwan's largest trade partner has pushed the frontrunner to be Taiwan's next leader to speak out.
不应该在选前1个月刻意公开发布，企图影响选情，这个是公然的介入台湾这场选举。
Lai, who's also Taiwan's vice president, is leading opinion polls in the race to succeed President Tsai Ing-wen. Since Tsai took office in 2016, relations with China have suffered. Tsai's government and the ruling Democratic Progressive Party have repeatedly accused Beijing of trying to interfere in January's vote. They say China is using military pressure, disinformation and trade sanctions to sway voters to the opposition. Beijing says its conclusions are objective and fair, but Taiwan says China should take any dispute to the World Trade Organization.
我方随时准备好跟对方在 WTO 的平台上来进行讨论所有的贸易争端，会随时跟我们的产业来讨论，用我们各种的政策工具来协助业者。
China is always a key issue for voters in Taiwan's national elections, whether parties want to get closer or not to Taiwan's largest neighbour. Campaigning here in recent weeks has focused more on domestic concerns like affordable housing and real wages. Some see China's trade ruling as a sign that Beijing wants issues it can dictate to be at the front of voters' minds. Karma Xu and Louise Watt in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has spotted 27 Chinese warplanes and 9 warships operating around the country. 10 of the aircraft crossed into Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ. The zone is not Taiwan's airspace, but serves as a buffer for security purposes. The Chinese aircraft included 8 fighter jets, 1 radar plane and 1 drone. Taiwan's military says it monitored the situation and tasked the Air Force and Navy with responding. The US has approved a $300 million equipment sale to help boost Taiwan's military. Once it passes Congress, the money will go toward maintaining and improving Taiwan's battle communications network. It marks the Biden administration's 12th arms sales to Taiwan. Taipei expects it to take effect in a month. The US says it will need to send US officials and contractor representatives to Taiwan to provide support as part of the sale. The United States and South Korea say they'll work together more closely to deter a nuclear strike by North Korea. Korea's Yonhap news agency says Washington and Seoul will decide next year how to share more of North Korea's nuclear secrets and what to do in case of an attack. They'll also practice nuclear operations during upcoming drills. North Korea has developed and tested ballistic missiles capable of reaching South Korea, Japan, and the continental US. Back in Taiwan, an expanding mountain of trash continues to plague one of the country's central counties. A river of garbage bursting out onto the street. This is the overflow from Nanto's Trash Mountain, an almost 10,000-ton waste heap so large that it's beginning to sprout trees. The local sanitation workers can't process the trash fast enough, so the pile continues to grow.
从去年12月份暂至到现在8、9千吨当中，只有处理了2、3千吨出去，到现在还堆置在这边。
Every day, 50 tons of garbage are added to the Trash Mountain, a pile so famous that one couple took their wedding photos with it back in October. They said they wanted to raise awareness of the issue. Local officials in Nantou, the only landlocked county in Taiwan, say a lack of cooperation is part of the problem.
各县市现在看起来是各自为政啊，各自的一个焚化炉都各自管理各自的部分啊，要协助外乡镇的或者是外县市的情况，并不是很积极。
Originally planned to be a temporary dumping ground, Trash Mountain has become an unwelcome fixture in Puli Township, one that has aroused comments from local politicians suggesting solutions to the issue, ahead of January's presidential and legislative elections.
就是把目前的垃圾可以加速外运，那不能外运的要打包，这打包只是暂时的处理。第二个，要积极的来推动垃圾变黄金的过程。
与其耗费这么多的经费去做打包，还不如赶快想办法来共同解决垃圾的一个去化。我想这是比较重要的。
Nantou County has no garbage dumps, so local authorities have turned to neighbouring counties for help processing their trash, only to be met mostly with rejection. The Nantou Environmental Protection Bureau is now calling on the central government for help.
焚化厂的整改会影响到量能，所以我们目前还是希望中央积极的协助。
Taiwan's Environment Ministry says a new incinerator in the country's north could help relieve Nantou's trash problem, but it won't be ready until the end of next year. Before then, Trash Mountain is set to keep expanding until a more immediate solution is found. Activists rallied in central Taipei on Saturday to call for an end to Taiwan's reliance on fossil fuels. Sally Jensen was there.
健康台湾，健康台湾，无煤台湾，无煤台湾，节电台湾，节电台湾，永续台湾，永续台湾。
A couple of hundred people have gathered outside Taiwan's legislature to call for an end to the country's reliance on fossil fuels. And this just comes a couple of days after the end of the COP28 UN Climate Summit in Dubai, where countries agreed to transition away from fossil fuels. Now, Taiwan isn't a part of the UN and isn't able to take part in those negotiations. But as a country that relies heavily on coal and gas in particular, which make up around 80% of Taiwan's energy mix, the activists here say that these are posing a huge problem in terms of air quality and human health issues, as well as preventing Taiwan from meeting its climate goals, its specific goal of net zero by 2050. And with just less than a month until Taiwan's presidential and legislative elections, the activists here hope that all candidates will consider moving away from fossil fuels in line with international climate targets.
在这边，我真的要呼吁所有的总统候选人到立委候选人，是我们不用再继续火力发电了。
And activists here hope that Taiwan will not just walk in lockstep with other countries around the world, but in fact take the lead when it comes to making fossil fuels a thing of the past. Scott Huang and Sally Jensen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has welcomed its 6 millionth tourist from overseas, reaching this year's visitor goal with just 2 weeks to spare. The Singaporean family who helped Taiwan hit the milestone were handed gifts by the Tourism Bureau. Taiwan's travel industry has suffered since China banned tour groups from visiting Taiwan in 2020. The government in Taipei hopes cross-strait tourism can restart next year, and it has doubled its visitor goal to 12 million people. An award-winning virtual reality show is back in Taipei. It's an international collaboration between Spain, France and Taiwan. Yu Jing Huang has more.
Virtual reality, made with dancers' real movements. The show is called the Bali, the Bangkali, and won the Best VR Experience at the Venice Film Festival in 2021. Its creator, Spanish choreographer Blanca Lee, brought the experience to Taiwan earlier this year, but it was so popular that the country's creative content agency wanted it to stay, so an upgraded version of the show is now playing in Taipei. For this version, they tweaked the choreography, incorporating elements created by the top Taiwanese tech and design teams. It also takes place in an unconventional space, a science museum.
我们也会持续的跟很多的这个场域方，像科教馆、像平台方 HTC 这样的一个场域的这个合作者，能够让它落地。那也希望说帮助更多的这个内容制造业者，能够看得到商机，不是只有做艺术而已。
将手放下去，是的，稍微的往这边，好。
Up to 10 participants can experience the performance at once, guided by 2 professional dancers, all wearing VR sets. Seeing digital art as vital to the future of the industry, Taiwanese tech giant HTC founded Vive Arts in 2017, focused on offering tech support to experimental art. For this show, they use a type of tracking technology called location-based entertainment. It lets participants share the same real-time interactive experience in a virtual environment.
里面还会有丛林啊，然后有一些密道什么之类的，就是很神秘的感觉。对，这个比较大，很大的规模。
我们能做到这么大的场域，我们讲的场域不是你们现场看到的，更大的可以到比如说500平方米、1000平方米这么大场域，同时连接比如说100台、80台头盔。
欢迎大家，欢迎大家，来，这是我的花园，我是 Jenny， 也是这里的主人。
To help participants immerse themselves in the story, interactive theatrical arrangements based on the virtual scenes are set up at the entrance. Made by a Taiwanese design team, they want to level up participants' sensory experiences.
对于惊喜制造来说，这一次是技术含量最高的，包含 VR， 包含网络串流，还有硬体设备等等，我觉得是非常大的挑战。
With the success of this international collaboration, the organizers hope this business model can bring more opportunities for Taiwan's tech and art scene. Klein Wang, Biqi Zhuang, and Yujin Huang for TaiwanPlus.
The pheasant-tailed Jakana has bounced back from the brink of extinction in Taiwan. And although their local population is now stable, conservationists hit a few bumps on the road to success. Bryn Thomas has the story.
If you see a bird with a distinctive long black tail balancing gracefully on a lily pad in Taiwan, chances are it's a pheasant-tailed Jakana. But the odds of you seeing one 25 years ago would have been far smaller. In 1998, there are just an estimated 50 left. But efforts to protect the bird have brought its numbers back up. There are now almost 3,000 in the country, the result of careful efforts to rebuild their habitat.
所以初期花了6年多，其实都很专心，我们就整个人就把栖地打造好。
But rebuilding the bird's habitat proved to only be one piece of the puzzle. In 2009, conservation efforts hit a setback when chemical pesticides on farms killed the birds en masse. This forced the government to work with farmers to find a way forward that protected both their livelihoods and the birds in their rice paddies.
不是只是祭出所谓的法令那要单方面要农民配合，而是我们去同理农民的需求，那让农民也愿意自主的朝向去减药，甚至最后不用化学农药的这个方式。
Although the pheasant-tailed Jakana's comeback is a success by any measure, it's also a lesson in the fragility of our natural ecosystem. The future of wildlife protection in Taiwan entails both bringing habitats back and treading lightly in the ones that still exist. Dolphine Chen and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. We sign off today with footage from a Santa charity ski and snowboard run at a resort in the US state of Maine. I'm Reece Ayers, take care and see you next time.